Hey everyone, it's Riley here again, and I was doing some feeding earlier in the week, and I realized since I've changed my method of feeding up, I thought I might share some of my methods and how I go about feeding everyone in my collection while trying to keep in mind uh, preventing cross-contamination and proper disinfection protocols with my tools during the entire process. So stick around and I'm going to go over some of the tools I use and a little bit of my methods here in just a minute. Alright, so with a lot of the recent topical discussion on cleanliness, preventing disease transmission and everything, one of the things that gets overlooked is just cross-contamination in one's own collection, not just between multiple collections. And one of the ways that we can prevent a little bit of cross-contamination is being a little bit extra careful during our feeding. So what I have here are 3 buckets that I've gone out to Ace Hardware to acquire. One clearly feed bucket only, so that's the one I thaw all my rodents in. I'm not feeding anybody, just for today's purposes. A disinfection bucket. This is where everything gets sprayed and disinfected with chlorohex solution, bleach, or some other true disinfectant of that nature. And then I have a happy little water bucket here, and that's just for rinsing all the tools in between uses. And then everything is dried off, hand sanitizer and gloves to change out as well. So I have a variety of different feeding tongs, and I actually use these long snake grabbers as feeding tongs for some of the bigger animals. And I even keep a hook nearby just in case, and that gets disinfected if it gets used as well. But essentially my process is, I've got my rodents thawed, I know what I'm going to feed. I grab some paper towels, get that rodent on there, make sure it's dry. Grab one of my clean sets of feeding tongs, feed that animal off, and then before I go and feed another one, that set of feeding tongs goes right in here, and I'll spray it down with this guy right here pretty thoroughly, let it sit for a few minutes, and go about feeding with another set of tongs, and I sort of get a rotation going. And by the time these have sat here for a couple minutes disinfecting and I need to use them again, I'll grab them, dunk them in the water bucket here, dry them off, and then they're good to go. In between every feed, change gloves or disinfect my hands, especially if I'm touching any of the snakes or rodents. So it's a little more time consuming, not very expensive. These buckets are a couple bucks each. The spray bottle is like $1 or something. All of these supplies you can get at a local grocery store and supply store. So you can outfit yourself for about 30 bucks probably, and take extra good care of your animals and just be mindful of cross-contamination. That's just one way to do it. I'm sure there's other methods that people use, but I found this to work in my system, so I thought I would share it. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy.